Thank you so much, guys, so much for joining us today. We have our guest, Kelly Loubet, and I've got my test co-host here, Karen Graves, here is with us. Kelly is a fantastic person. We'll go into why she's fantastic, but first and most importantly here, she is a mom and a mompreneur. I think that's a good explanation of it. So maybe we could go ahead and get started with that. How did you become an entrepreneur, or was it always a mompreneur first, or did you become entrepreneur first and then a mom, or vice versa?
I think
we'll go in that direction.
Well, I grew up in an entrepreneurial spirited household where my grandfather and my father both started their own businesses, so it's all I really knew. And I was a stay-at-home mom with two toddlers, 2 under 2. And this is going to sound horrible. I hope I don't get hate mail. I just was not cut out for that. Like, I was not cut out for the stay-at-home mom and baking all the time and just having dinner on the table. That was not ever me. But I wanted my kids involved. Like, obviously I had children and I wanted children, but I wanted them involved in something bigger. So I started blogging. And this was 11 years ago, you guys. So I started blogging and I opened a boutique because I can sew. And I started my own line of children's clothing and blogged about it. But then I realized people weren't like shopping as much as they were reading. And I had a brick and mortar, Daryl. Like, this wasn't just like online. Yeah. So I closed up my brick and mortar. I stopped selling online and I started writing. And it was an exchange. At the time, blogging was more of a barter. It was, hey, you have a lot of readers. I'll send you, a pack of diapers or a case of diapers if you share about Huggies. And it's like, awesome, I need a case of diapers.
Right.
And so after a while, I started realizing, man, I'm getting a lot of toothpaste and detergent and diapers. And I have a lot of people asking me how I'm getting this toothpaste, detergent, and diapers. I should be able to make money doing this. And that's how it all evolved. And I started writing to brands saying, hey, why don't you let me write about this? And this is this all came about 2007, 2008, when Twitter was starting to take off in 2008, and writing campaigns. So like, I would get my friends together. We would have a Twitter party, not a chat, a party. Because a party has prizes, Daryl. So that's what we were doing. And I was selling Twitter parties, selling blog posts, selling promotional tweets. And then that just evolved into becoming, a director of social media for a brand, a social media strategist for a brand. But there's nothing like being your own boss.
Yeah, absolutely. Karen, I'll kind of throw it to you. Do you have any questions for Kelly there? If we want to kind of go tandem, I'll look at the comments. You kind of ask questions, or go ahead. First
of all, Kelly, congratulations, because I so get what you're saying. I didn't have the mommy stay-at-home gene either. I was like, I hope you're not looking for recipes because it's not gonna work. So in the beginning, like when you had that aha, I can monetize this. Tell us what it was like in those early days of what types of responses were you getting back from companies? Were they like, oh, that sounds great? Or were they kind of like, what? We're not paying you.
It was both, a lot of both. There was a foot in this agency called Collective Bias. It's now called Social Fabric. So in 2009, Collective Bias started selling this same service on a large scale. So I kind of jumped in with them. So on that sense, it was easy, but it wasn't as much necessarily as I wanted to be paid. So when I was doing it on my own, it was like, well, let us see what our budget is, was a lot of it. Or we're used to doing this in trade. And then I would usually respond back with, well, you're not used to doing this. in trade. You're used to a blog post, but I'm handing you your entire campaign on a platter. Like, you don't have to do anything. So the more I showed them that they wouldn't have to manage the influencers or even manage the reporting, because I was even turning in reporting as small as it was back then. It was showing them value, and the more I was able to show value, the more response I was getting.
Okay, so you basically just started proving to them that what you were doing was going to help their bottom line,
right?
For the most part, right?
Yeah.
Give them some exposure and get some clientele for them and customers for them.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this: for the person in today's times, because it's changed so dramatically, right?
Yes.
And now this is the norm. What advice would you give to somebody who's just starting in this realm of, you know what, I have something of value to bring to companies? Like, where would I start?
If you're just getting started, I would suggest, especially if you consider yourself a content creator, hooking up with an agency. As weird as that sounds, you still have the opportunity to be your own boss, because you can pick and choose the content you want to use. You write your content in your own authentic voice. You share your content in your own way. So back up. Find your niche first. You need to have a niche. And Instagram is still super hot right now. If you have Instagram influence, that goes a long way. But I would say find a little agency like Social Fabric. Oh my gosh, I'm totally blank. But there are tons of them out there right now. And hook up with them and start taking on these little campaigns and then getting a feel for it. Because if you have, unless you already have a feel for it, but you can go out and just send an email to the contact us. I got an Invisalign campaign years ago before Invisalign was doing influencers. I hit the contact us button and I sent them my pitch. And that's how I reached them.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Awesome.
So don't set aside the contact us or a tweet or a direct message.
Okay.
Let me ask you this here, Kelly. So at what point was it that when you started doing more social media than you were doing, the sales there in the store, were there people that you kind of looked up to and kind of tried to mimic what they were doing online in order to kind of get your footing as far as social media goes?
Yeah.
Social media management.
It's kind of funny because in my space, the mom blogging space at the time, no, there wasn't anybody in particular in my space that I was wanting to mimic, because nobody was really doing what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to leave the blogging space and make my way into the marketing space. And that's when I met Ted Rubin. I met Ted 8 years ago.
Okay.
And Ted became my mentor. So way back in the day, yeah, it was like, it was close to 8 years ago. He was still at ELF. I was still blogging. And we did some kind of campaign together. But he saw that I had the same philosophy of not megaphone, but two-way conversation. And that wasn't happening back then. Like, that was not the norm.
Right.
And so we partnered up, and he took me under his wing. And I owe Ted a lot because he saw that the wheels were turning in here to translate something different to the space.
And I got a question about that. So I met Ted Rubin at the same event you were at about a month. Was it a month ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Probably about a month ago. Didn't know who the guy was. So maybe you could explain who Ted Rubin, because I think he was actually doing a Blab earlier, I think, along with Brian Fanza. But go ahead and explain who he is, because for those who might not know,
who is Ted
ignorant
Rubin? Well, if you do a Google search, you'll find a wealth of info on Ted. But in a nutshell, Ted was CMO. So when I met him, like I said, he was at ELF. And he continued to be a CMO in the space joining various agencies, one of which was, I keep bringing up, they're getting a lot of promo today, Collective Bias. But now, fast forward, Ted works with a lot of high-profile companies as a consultant. Mary Kay is one, and he was just visiting Lego in London. But basically, he goes and he consults and he speaks, and he's a big name in the space right now. Watches Blabs. Learn a lot from him. His philosophy is return on relationships. So if you search the hashtag #RONR, you'll find Ted. And it's all about authenticity, reaching people and hearing their stories. And I'm all about that. I am so rambly today.
No, we're interviewing you. You're supposed to tell your story. Exactly. Karen, I'll throw it back to Karen. Go ahead. Sorry.
So this is so cool because I love the stories that evolve from I was just doing these things and then it just started taking off and I wasn't even aware of what was going on. Your humility is so awesome because you're just
thank you.
Just gonna go on with Ted Rubin and I. So fast forward us to today. Like today, some really big things are happening. So where are you standing today? Like what's going on in your life right now?
Okay, so I just finished just about a 2-year stint at Origami Owl, which is a direct sales company for jewelry. I created their online social media strategy basically from scratch, where we grew their community over 400%. And it was all organic. So that whole notion of organic growth has kind of stuck with me. And I'm being asked to speak now on organic growth at various places. I was being asked to coach direct sales marketers, network marketers on how to grow their communities. And I just saw again another opportunity to do my own thing. And so I'm doing that. And I've picked up work with some really great people. Robert Reed with a little agency in town called 88 Vision. I'm writing some influencer campaigns for him. I'm doing some work at the Marketing Scope with Eric Vidal, which has been awesome. Can't wait to dive in there. And yeah, just living the life.
You totally are living the life. So the organic growth, that's that's always intriguing, especially to people who are either starting out or they're trying to gain traction, and they're doing things like this. They're doing blabs, they're blogging, they're tweeting, and a lot of times they feel like they're not getting as far as they feel they can, because here you have all this opportunity for engagement and exposure, but are you doing the right things that are going to help you in growing your business, gathering leads, followers, or even monetizing? So what are some of your tips, if you don't mind pulling back the curtain a little, on organic growth?
Well, the main part is you have to be there. What I see a lot of, especially in our sphere of marketing, is the set it and forget it mentality. I'm going to push out a lot of content and I'm going to be present in the digital sense, but I'm not going to be present bodily. So the whole key, the big secret, I'm just going to give you the big secret because it's the most obvious, is you need to be there and respond to people. I don't care if they said, that's funny. Then you write them back and you say, thanks, so glad you enjoyed it. That's the big secret. The most minuscule comment. And they could be nobody. They could be a bot. But your community sees you responding. And that encourages a ripple effect of growth. So if you're doing anything, it should be responding to anybody and everybody who's responding to you.
That's a great tip. So if I can have one more question, then I'll shoot it back over.
Yeah.
Okay. When it comes to, what are your feelings then about people scheduling their content? Because that can become overwhelming, and some people don't have their teams in place, so they try to use these automation tools. Now, what are your thoughts on automating and that responsiveness, that level of responsiveness?
I don't have any trouble with automation at all, because honestly, in order to stay ahead of things and in the know and appear to be an expert in your industry, you do read a lot, you share a lot, and the only way to get that out there really is to schedule it out. Otherwise, you come across, I think, looking spammy if you're trying to do it all in the morning, for instance. Like, I'm going to schedule 9 to 11, and I'm going to be on my Twitter. Then you're putting out all this content from 9 to 11, and then you're gone. Now, don't look at my Twitter feed, because I tweet when I feel like it, honestly, at this point. But anyone who's trying to grow their audience, go ahead and automate, spread it out throughout the day, but that doesn't mean, don't look and see who's responded. Find different portions of your day where you can jump in and thank the people, or answer the questions, or share some ideas organically.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Karen, I like you as an co-interviewer.
Yeah, she has great questions.
Yeah, she's asking excellent questions, right? Like, go ahead and give her some props there, guys.
All the feels.
But they used to be called feels. They're now called props. Let's get it right. So Kelly, I've got a question for you. So moving more along that lines, so you do kind of schedule out a little bit of content there. Are there services that you use? I kind of use Hootsuite from time to time. Like, I know some people use Buffer. Like, do you have preferences in those areas?
Yeah, I mean, not that you don't ever want to pay for anything, but both those services, Hootsuite and Buffer, have paid versions that will cover your own personal accounts. So if you're just looking to build your personal brand, you have enough slots to throw in your Twitter and Facebook, especially, and go ahead and start scheduling. As far as community management, I'm going to sound so nerdy right now, though. Like, I super love TweetDeck. Like, I am such a nerd. I have like columns for days, and I just love the organization of it all. So if I'm actually engaging and following conversations, I'm in TweetDeck.
And Steven,
I'm so embarrassed.
No,
don't be embarrassed.
Don't be embarrassed. Like,
whatever works for you. People are
and I know Steven in the comments, he's a pretty big guy on social media. He just said, like, I use TweetDeck as well. So
Steven and I go way back, actually. We used to work together. We had our own little company at one point, and shared clients. And
perfect time for Steven to go ahead and have a seat and like have chat if you'd like. I don't know.
Come on, Steven. Come on, jump in.
Yeah, Steven, if you'd like to jump in, feel free. But no, tell us about that then, Kelly. Like, you back in 2007, you kind of made the shift from the brick and mortar to just getting started as a mommy blogger. And then what happened after that? How did you start interacting with Steven? Let's talk about him while he's watching.
I think at that point, I wasn't blogging as much. I was doing a lot of marketing, and we fell in together on Twitter using the hashtag #UsGuys, and it was a tribe of people that just tweeted together, supported each other, and it wasn't even about sharing your links or your latest projects. It was literally like, hey, how did your kids do in school? Or how did that last speaking engagement go? It was people actually conversing. And
Such a concept.
And then we met an investor that got us connected into a startup ring, essentially. And Steven and I took on, we had several startups that we took on as clients, and we set their social media strategy, we did their management, we created their content, and that's what we were doing. And then from there, I left that area and started working for a big crafting brand doing their digital marketing. So that was kind of the next transition of my career.
Okay, awesome. Also, and I see Steven says he can't jump in right now, so it's just kind of listening in. It'd be great to get the other side of the perspective there a little bit. Karen, I'll throw it back to you. Did you have a question for? I have questions. I just want to try and keep it back and forth there.
No, what's so great about your story too is that you're also presenting the opportunities that a lot of people may not even realize that they have. I get the pleasure of observing when people find their sweet spots. When they find it's like, oh, I'm a Twitter expert or I'm a LinkedIn expert, and they didn't even realize how valuable that information is. It may seem like everybody's on social media, but not everybody knows how to use it, especially to really bring exposure and followers to a brand. So if somebody's like, I've never thought about this consulting thing. What are some of the steps that people can take towards, I want to get into the consulting space and I want to help companies?
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say, I love that you said you love it when people find their sweet spot. I don't know that I've even found my sweet spot yet. And to me, that's actually exciting because that just means that I have another evolution yet to come. And my recommendation to these kind of people thinking about consulting is don't try and be everything to everyone. I've been there. I'm almost still kind of there. And it's exhausting. You're never going to be the best at everything. So find something that you can offer and offer it the best. That's probably my advice when you're thinking of taking on any kind of consulting. Think of, hey, I'm really good at community management. I'm not going to offer strategy at this point, but I can manage the heck out of a community and I can grow it like crazy because I'm really engaging and I understand the consumer. Or maybe you're terrible at community management, but you're great at marketing. So you could lay out strategies and deliver it to a community manager. So there's a lot of ways you could go, or focus in on one platform even too. I see a lot of people, they're live streaming specialists now, and that's okay. That's great. There's a space for that now.
That's such great tips, because I do think that people do try to be the everything.
Yep.
And it shows when you're trying to juggle too many things and not doing it really well. So what a great comment on that. Go ahead, Daryl. I'm going to throw it back.
That kind of brought up kind of a question that I've had in the last week or so. So, that, I mean, we met in person, that I've kind of been going around and kind of introducing myself as someone who does social media. And a lot of people take that to mean, what I would like it to mean is social media coaching, not so much the management part. So there's the two parts there. But a lot of people, what they hear is you can do social media management. And what I think I'm trying to move into is even more specifically consulting on live streaming a little bit, because I Periscope a little bit. You might have heard Kelly I think knows a little bit, but how does one make that transition, or how would you suggest making it a transition, or making it clear what it is you do with social media? Because you just say social media, throw it out there. So, some people think one thing, some people think another. I think that's way too long of a question, but go ahead.
No, I totally get it. I mean, we're in an unfortunate transition right now, actually, to be honest with you. When the social media manager position came about, and they were doing everything, and that still exists. You'll see a salary that has 3 jobs in it. That's a baseline salary for community managers. So you have community management, you have strategy / coaching, and then you have analytics, and even advertising. You could be asked to do 4 different jobs under the title of social media manager. And I am just against that. And I hope more people, when they apply for jobs, start to say and help the cause and differentiate. And I hope when people start to develop job descriptions, that they take that into mind, that these are now separate roles. There are analytics specialists, there are strategists, there are community managers, and the community managers of yore, friends of mine who still call themselves community managers, are super successful in their roles. Don't mind them, but it's very separate. So for you, you need to be really clear what your skill set is and what you're offering. And that could all be in how you title yourself. So maybe instead of I'm a social media specialist, I'm a social media coach, and I help brands find their voice and deliver to their clients. And then another thing you might consider doing is pair up with a community manager, pair up with somebody that you trust that could execute your plan, and bring them in on projects. That doesn't mean that you have to split with them or form a company. It just means when you come across a client that's looking for community management in addition to the coaching, you have somebody right away that you can recommend.
Right.
And that kind of solves the dilemma right there.
No, excellent suggestion. Thank you. Kara, did you have a question, or I've got other questions here?
No, go ahead with your questions, because
Okay.
I'm managing the comments saying hi.
Thank you. Awesome co-host right here. So my next question would be, so what are some books? Are there any books, or like obviously Marketing Scope is a great website that just came out in the past year or so.
Yeah.
Any resources that you suggest to people who are in the social media world to take a look at or read? Or
yeah, for sure. Well, the Marketing Scope, their newsletter and blog produce a lot of information for people in our space. And then once you get beyond just absorbing information and being part of a community, if you're working for a company that's looking for lead generation and media buys, then you can continue in that direction.
Okay.
But books, I love Shareology, which is fairly new on Amazon by Brian Kramer. And Brian Kramer takes a similar route to Ted Rubin in human to human marketing, which is, again, something that I feel a great affinity to. Ted has several books, Return on Relationships, and his newest is How to Look People in the Eye Digitally, which is, that's a really great one. And then my favorite books, going back old school, and he's still producing books, the original Unmarketing, the book of Business Awesome and Unawesome, QR Codes Kill Kittens, Scott Stratton.
Scott Stratton.
I gotta write that down.
Scott Stratton was one of the very first people I was tweeting with regularly. He was broadcasting on Ustream from a Tim Hortons.
Wow.
And I think he had like 100 followers.
Oh, wow.
And that's how old school I am. OG. But you know what is hilarious? Like, I find all these great stories and all these success stories of these people who are doing amazing things. And then I think, my name is never attached to that. But it's never bothered me, because I get to share on a level that is more personal and intimate than to an audience of thousands in an arena. And it may come to that someday, but that's not where I'm at, and I'm okay with that.
I got another question, which my fantastic co-host just put into the comments. Like, who else is a social media OG? Like, obviously probably Gary Vaynerchuk, but who else would you consider a social media OG, like that was on Twitter the first couple of years or so?
Oh my gosh. Well, a lot of them would be back in the mom blogger space, and they're still around doing amazing things. There's Amy Bear. She's Resourceful Mom. She actually invented the Twitter party, believe it or not. She was the first person to utilize hashtags in a way that brought people together for an hour and branded it. So, yeah, her tag is Resourceful Mom. Oh my gosh. I'm like totally trying to like, I'd have to think of like a funny story and be like, oh yeah, remember that time when Gary Vee and I had a wine tasting? Like that didn't happen, but
no, that wasn't.
It happened in your head.
That's all right.
It happened for all of us. All of us have been at a wine tasting with Gary Vee, I can tell you. I mean, it's just us.
I think I might just show up at VaynerMedia like when I'm in Periscope Summit in a week or so. I'm probably just gonna show up like, hey, like you haven't responded to anyone. No, go ahead.
Right.
But so mommy bloggers were kind of who you were talking to back at the time.
Mm-hmm.
How about and the question I always like to ask, but I think this. Well, I won't answer for you. I'm going to try not to do that. That's bad interview. Is there a mastermind? Have you ever been a part of a mastermind group? And if so, tell me about that experience. Let's go there.
Not in the traditional sense, no. I just surround myself with like-minded people. And that's how I find myself growing. I found in a traditional mastermind type group that everybody's trying to show their expertise, or, you know, well, I'm the best at this and I'm the best at that. And that could just be my experience, but I don't do like a lot of the women's groups in my area because I've just found that it's, I don't know, a pissing contest of sorts. And I just choose to share like in this way. And I wish that things were more authentic in the social space, but they're just not. And that's probably the ugly truth of this industry, is that it's hard to find a true group of supportive, like-minded people that want to see other people succeed. And that could just be my experience.
Let me just like to add to that. What is your opinion of Social Media Club Phoenix, though?
Okay, so that's a whole nother situation, because those are people that I think truly do want to see other people succeed. It's more of a friend group that have found each other. And I hope that as it gets bigger, that we don't lose that vibe, that cool, hanging out. What are you working on? That's awesome. I'm working on this. Maybe we can collaborate. And there's not really any like struggle for power or anything.
And Karen, like you might be a little bit confused by that last question there, but we're both. I guess I can't even become officially a member, but Kelly has a title at Social Media Club Phoenix. I went to the first Social Media Club Phoenix meeting about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, maybe.
2 months ago,
2 months ago, and met awesome people. Kelly being one of those awesome people. Another being my mentor, Q, who I interviewed last week, I believe. And here's my perspective on it. So I attended a Social Media Club Columbus, where I'm originally from. I attended one of their group meetings and stuff, and not to talk bad about them, but I guess I'm about to talk bad about them. When I was working a full-time job at Nationwide and trying to do a little bit of blogging on the side there, I attended, and like people in that group kind of treated me like, oh, well, you're not a social media manager, you're not a strategist, you're just a blogger. Okay, well, I'm going to go talk to this person who's more important than you. The moment I sat down with the moment I sat down with these like 6 awesome people, just like at Applebee's and stuff, it just like we were just like vibing the whole time and just like kind of giving great feedback the whole time. So all I can do is say good things about Social Media Club Phoenix. I think I just like that. But hopefully Social Media Club Columbus, and last I checked, they weren't even doing anything. So I don't know.
I mean, there are official memberships and there are membership perks, but everybody's welcome to come to the open events, and we're trying to host more of them. We finally have a space for the monthly meetings, and the first monthly meeting is next week, I think, next Thursday night.
Yeah.
So, if you're in the Phoenix area, check out Social Media Club Phoenix. We're at SMC Phoenix on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. So I plan to actually make it to that meeting there. So I guess, I mean, we asked some awesome questions at this point. It's something, technically I wanted to have about an hour, but like I think we got over a lot in just like 35 minutes or so. What did you have some more questions for Karen, or love the co-host? Oh, your audio just went out. Oh, Karen, your audio just went out.
Can you hear me?
Okay, all right.
Okay,
There we go.
sorry about that.
Right.
Is there anybody else though who's watching that might have a question that, you know, they want to know a little bit more about, you know, how do you get into this space where you're monetizing all this work that you're doing? You know, you're bringing forth really good, valuable information, and it's a passion and a love, but sometimes people are feeling like I'm getting a lot more passion, but I'm not loving it so much because it's really not like work. Like I'm not getting things back from it. So who has questions for that?
Yeah, does anybody from the audience have questions? I mean, I could ask more questions here because I'm a curious person by nature. I mean, like, what are some of the events? What were some of the coolest events that you've spoken at, or when was your first speaking opportunity? That's a better question for somebody who's just started.
And what did you speak about? What did you talk about?
Yeah. My first speaking opportunity was actually at a group called Bloggy Boot Camp, which is run by the SITS girls, which still exists today. And it's a network of blogs that come for knowledge, how to grow their blogs. And I spoke basically on how to grow your blog. So that was not like super in depth or anything, but I've spoken, I spoke at Google, a small Google conference called the Unconference, put on by Community Management Group. And that was really exciting. That was on organic community growth. I spoke at direct sales convention, my largest one. There was over 4,000 people. Oh, wow. And we got it to trend on Facebook. And that was social media for network marketing, small businesses. There's so many speaking things out there. I think I prefer the smaller venues to the larger venues just because you can get, like I said before, a little more intimate and a little more real. And when it's on a big stage, it's almost as if you're performing. Well, for me, it feels like that. You're performing and you're trying to get through it. Where if you're on a smaller scale, it feels a little more at home.
Awesome. Let me ask you more about that. So, like, when you first got into the speaking and whatnot, were you approached, or did you approach them like, hey, I can do a speech on such and such topic? How did that come about?
Yeah, early on, I would submit to the various conferences that I was already attending, like Type A Parent was another one. So I just submitted. And that time I spoke on how to pitch to a brand, because at the time bloggers were all waiting for brands to pitch them. And it was a new notion that you could actually pitch a brand. So at that time I was just writing in and submitting what I could speak about. And then it turned from that into being asked to speak on different panels or, you know, engagements.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm sorry. I was just trying to get rid of. I was trying to get rid of somebody who was asking to come in who shouldn't. Yeah. I think we had that experience earlier, Kelly. If you remember.
Yeah.
From earlier.
I was just gonna say. I think this Karen kind of asks along this line of questioning. But for what about somebody, if there's people out there who are looking to get into speaking, there are so many opportunities, and that might be a time when you do join your local business group or chamber, because they're always looking for speakers. And if you have something that you want to share, you should go out there and share it. Some of these bigger conferences, they want you to have a great digital footprint, and that's part of it. I mean, that's part of the politics of it all. But you can find something local and definitely share your passion.
Yeah. To speak to that a little bit, I've done about a dozen Periscope presentations here in the Valley there so far. So
Yeah.
I think I've done that, but what I'm trying to move into is, okay, Kevin. I think Kevin is the actual sitter here, so I'm going to go ahead and let Kevin sit. I don't think you're a Snapchat
Hey,
person.
what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Kevin? Hey, thanks so much for joining.
Kevin was napping.
Yeah. Kevin, did you want to go ahead and add to the conversation today?
Yeah, what are you guys talking about?
Well, we're talking about social media, Kevin. Okay. Kevin, I'm going to go ahead and let you go if you weren't paying attention to the title here. Sorry. You can come back in if you have some good questions. Put them in the side.
This is much better than back in the day when we would be on like Ustream or Tiny Chat, and somebody would jump in and be like, "Show us your boobs."
Well, I guess that happens, and maybe we could even turn the discussion there. Like, have you, both of you, like, maybe we could just turn the discussion there. Both of you, either one of you, like, periscoped a decent amount at all, or?
I have not. I'm a lurker.
Okay.
And I have to say, I was a lurker too. Periscope, I actually started in Periscope, and I just didn't take to it because I felt like I was just talking into white space and just blah, 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 blah. And look at me. And Blab, though, I just fell in love because of this collaboration and this interactivity. And I think that's just more of my personality, too. I love to talk to people, I love to connect with people. And Periscope, I just felt like I was very didactic, very just like, put it out there. Oh, show me some hearts. No, I'm not feeling love.
Well, Kay Elizabeth Green has been sitting in here. Hopefully, Kay Elizabeth Green is not a Snapchat troll. We'll sit here and be like, no, she doesn't look like a Snapchat troll at all.
Thank you for the prompt, Eric.
At all. Thanks so much for joining.
Because you sound very knowledgeable on these platforms, and I have been a lurker for the last couple of days, and I'm trying now to decide. It seems like this is going to be a game changer, especially for those of us who like to have interaction, you know, opposed to just talking and doing a webinar where you're talking to white space, you know, and you're not sure if people are listening to you. So I thought I'd jump in and maybe pick your brains about how you're using social media to promote yourself, and if you're finding that it is working.
Sure. Guest of honor, would you like to answer that question first?
Okay.
I would say it's working, and it just depends on what your level of working is. Like for me, I would rather have 100 engaged fans than 100,000 in number. If I'm getting people that are responding, and even though my follower count might be small on a certain platform, it doesn't matter to me because those particular people that are there for that content. So my biggest piece of advice as you're promoting yourself would be don't get hung up on your follower number. If you're going to get hung up on any number, let it be your ratio of engagement to followers. And how you can look at that is likes, comments, shares, kind of bundle those together versus how many followers you have, and get hung up on that, because then you'll know I'm going in the right direction because 10%, 20%, 30% of my audience is really in tune to what I'm saying.
Okay. And so is there a place that explains some of the icons? Because I was wondering why Karen is green over here, and some people, and I see a G by her name, and some people I see an H, and you said that you were hosting it. Glasses back on. Carte, yeah.
Yeah, my name is Daryl, by the way. I run Carte Blanche Media, which does social media coaching and consulting. We'll just say that. And yeah, mine is blue. The next guest usually is yellow, then it goes green, and then it goes red for the fourth person. Is typically how it works here.
Okay. So the coloring is explaining how they came on or into the chat. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Just keeps it pretty, keeps it attractive, you know, and then when you see everybody's names, you know, everybody has a handle, you know, so they have their different Twitter handles. So Daryl's is at Carte Blanche, me. I'm at Karen Graves, MIG. You have yours, right? So sometimes I find that, and maybe I'm alone on this, but sometimes I find it's deceiving because you don't know a person's name. So you might have to work a little harder to figure out somebody's name, but it's nice because people can also use this as the advertising of their companies at the same time.
Okay. And then along the side, you can, this is when you've tweeted it out, right, left side of the screen.
Mm-hmm. Tell a little bird.
Okay.
And you can tell a little bird right now. Hit that tell a little bird. You
can just press it.
Okay.
Go ahead and press it. Or
and you'll see.
Oh,
okay. The right way and press it, yeah.
And on that tell a little bird, the new one, because you are now on the panel. So that's a great way to get an opportunity for people to know where you are and to come check you out at the same time.
Oh, okay. Indeed. Post tweet there. All right.
Yeah. So
I love these questions, though. These are the questions that people should be answering, you know, asking, because lots of times people will jump on and they just kind of get lost into the world of social media and they don't take the time to figure it out and ask when you have the opportunity to ask people who have been using it for so long. And really with Blab, it's like a month, right? But who have these background experiences, you're doing exactly what you should be doing, Elizabeth. So thank you so much for asking and trying to get clear as to how you can best utilize this for yourself.
Yeah, because I see it as a game changer, opposed to going out there and paying for go-to-webinars, since you can sort of control who comes in to your room and who is part of it. I see this as just a great opportunity to do that. And so I'm trying my best to learn as much as possible about it.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you do and so how this will help you in the future?
Right on track.
We think alike. We got this.
Yeah. Well, I'm an intuitive life coach. I work with people to tap into their intuition to be able to really live the life that they want. You know, many of us are stuck, and this is, you know, I keep telling them there's so many ways that you can promote yourself. You do not have to live and work in a job that you hate. You know, that yes, you can live the life of your dreams. It just requires you to be willing to do the work and take responsibility for where you're going. And I find that so many people are unclear as to what they want in life. You know, and they feel like they've got a fence around them because of what their parents have said, what society has said, what their education has said. And I believe there are no limits whatsoever to what you can accomplish. It just doesn't happen overnight. I'm in Vegas, and everybody thinks if you drop a quarter in, you're going to be a millionaire overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like building muscle that if you do the work, you'll get the response that you want. So that's me.
Well, I'm going to cancel my trip to Vegas now because I was sure I would drop a quarter. Now I have no reason to go to Vegas.
Well, maybe you've been doing the work. Maybe the law of attraction is ready for you to drop that quarter in because you've got your consciousness and you're ready to do it, you know, and draw it to you. But most people haven't. Yeah.
I love what she's saying, though, about really getting in tune with it, what it is that you want, because even back when I was starting my career, there was a lot of community pressure from family, from church, from friends to be this thing. And when you don't feel like that thing, it's so hard and you're struggling constantly to please everyone. But the moment that you can let go of that and realize that you don't need to please everyone. You should be true to yourself and what your heart's calling you to do. I think that you could be successful at anything, whether it's what we're talking about today or any field.
I agree with you totally. That if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to take the risk, and it is a risk.
It's hard
going against, it sounds easy, but when you get out there in the trenches and you're moving from one place to another, it really requires you to be resilient. It really requires you. That's why I like being a coach, because having support as you're moving from one thing to another, because family and friends are almost like wanting to hold you in the same place that you've always been in.
Yeah.
And I keep reminding my clients that they can't see. They don't hear the voice that you're hearing. They can't see your dream. And what you have to do is to get people who are willing to support the dream that you have. And you will have some dark days.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yes, you will. And what a great statement, though, you said about the people who know you, they kind of like know you when. For some of my family, I'm still 5 years old. For some of my family, I'm 20. And it's true that your circles of familiar may see a limitation because they want to keep you in that space. And it's almost like protection. It's out of love, but they don't know any better.
Right.
So you do have to break free of what their perceptions and conceptions of what you can do and what you should do are. So it's a great point that you're making. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Green, or Elizabeth, however you like. Elizabeth, however you'd like to be referred to. I will say this real quick. We've got about 5 more minutes that I kind of
I'm going to jump off and leave,
Kelly.
Give you an open.
Oh, okay. You can. If somebody else wants to sit, they can. But yeah, Kelly, it would probably just start to wrap up at this point there, and we could go off record here if you have a couple of minutes to hang out. I actually don't. I have to pick up a Bay's kid. Some of you might be familiar with that term, some may not. But yeah, I have to go pick him up right after this.
It's that time.
It's that time.
Yeah, it's about that time. But tell me, kind of, if you had one piece of advice for someone who wanted to get started in social media, is working a day job, but they think, hey, I'm pretty good in social media, I think I can do that full time. What would be that one piece of advice?
Man, you need to be brave, first of all, because this is it is a cutthroat industry. It really is. I'm going to get a little dark probably, but it's full of selfish people. It's full of egos. It's full of inauthenticity. And my biggest piece of advice is don't let that become you. If you want to continue to succeed, you don't have to be in the limelight all the time. I consider myself extremely successful, and I'm not one of those names that you see on a marquee. But in my sphere of influence, I feel very successful, very trusted. And I think it's due to the fact that I didn't let that all consume me over the years. So be you, do you.
Like that. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And I guess I'll say finally, and then we could go ahead and stop recording and see if somebody else wants to sit as well. Finally, if somebody wants to get in contact with you, learn more about you, how can they do it other than just your Twitter feed? Go ahead and self-promote right now. So,
Self-promote. I would actually probably prefer that they reach out to me via social media. All of my handles are my name, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, here on Blab. You can even find me on Facebook. And for now, I'm friending people that I find to be pretty friendly, and I have a list that I put, non-true friends and family on. So I still put out content to people that I consider my internet friends. So find me there and chat. I would love to, talk to you if you want to do some coaching, whether it be a 2-hour session or a month-long strategy planning. My email is also my name @gmail.com. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Kelly. Really appreciate it. Karen, did you want to give your little self promo there?
Yeah.
And then I'll go ahead and stop recording, and then maybe we'll have to like DM each other a little bit here after this.
Yeah,
I got some more. Yeah. So go ahead.
So I am helping people, figure out what are you going to sell, who you're going to sell it to, how much you're going to sell it for. And if you are stuck in that matter, you don't know how to price yourself or what to put out there, then you can contact me, Karen at karengraves.org. Or I'm on here, obviously, on Twitter, same handle, and I'm on Facebook. I'm all over Facebook, like all over. So let's connect.
Awesome. Thank you. And my name is Daryl, and I run this company, and you don't really need to follow me at all. So I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and leave it at that. It looks like Telvin wanted to come in, and then he decided to go out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop recording right now.